I finished my schoolwork when I was 16. Now, my mother thought that was too young to go to college. So the idea was that I would work 2 years, then go to college with boys of my own age. Well, during that 2 years, though, I had fallen in love. I'd started in business with $5,000 left to me by my grandfather and had a dozen or more people working for me, owed $100,000, which is the equivalent of $2 million now. And the idea of being a freshman in college and wearing a beanie cap just had no appeal. And in working with these older men, some of whom were a little impatient with me, for the most part, they were condescendingly tolerant, but they taught me so much. It was right here in the Smackover field that the first really big oil was found. And we had, they had, I was this high, and the company had a well over here flowing 40,000 barrels a day. I can remember just as a little fellow being brought out here by my father, and they were flowing the oil into an earthen pit. And there were dozens, maybe hundreds of oxen team, mule team, scrambling to get another pit built before they filled the first one up.
With the discovery of Smackover, South Arkansas became, for a time, the center of the petroleum industry. And Murphy's lands were right in the middle of it.
When I met him, he was 32, and he was, a little bit of, in the oil patch, a legend already. Young, successful wildcatter.
Charles took a nice start and built it into a very important Fortune 500 company.
After World War II, the economy expanded rapidly. There was a great demand for oil. As America prospered, so did Murphy, an enterprise with proven rules for success.
You don't explore on borrowed money. I said don't explore on even equity capital. It's certainly not on borrowed capital. Murphy Oil and every other good company does its wildcatting and its exploration out of income.
In the early 50s, the company was poised for another big expansion. One frontier was the Gulf of Mexico. It was clear that the oil didn't stop at the water's edge, but there was no practical method for offshore exploration.
I was looking for support for this idea for an offshore drilling rig and had tried all the normal places, the people who were in the business and down here on the coast, and couldn't convince anybody. They all knew more about it and why it wouldn't work. And then you get up there in El Dorado, Arkansas, and they were persuaded that I maybe knew something of what I was talking about.
Is why don't you back me in building a barge that I will redesign, and we can start off drilling wells for others and then use the profit from it to take farm outs and to find our own oil. That was done.
Their first drilling barge, the Mr. Charlie, was named for C.H. Murphy Sr. This venture resulted in the world's first submersible rig capable of operating in open water. Murphy was willing to be a pioneer. With this new technology, the company could leverage itself into becoming a major player, not only in the Gulf of Mexico, but eventually throughout the oceans of the world.
Murphy Oil's always been willing to take unproven and untried ideas as long as a rigorous analysis would indicate that this probably would work. In our case, we started as a land and timber company, and our natural diversification and asset for the future is to just go back to where we began, further develop the lands.
With success has come certain responsibilities and involvement in public and civic affairs.
Charlie was always available to provide advice, not only to Interior or to the Energy Department, but to presidents. And he got to know a fair number of presidents. He was always affable. He was always ready to provide the best kind of information with regard to what the industry could do, not only in its own interest, but for the country as well.
Delighted to see. What'd you do? Did you fly? Where'd you fly? Into hobby or? My respect is built on a professional respect for his career, but it's also quite personal. I've been blessed by not only his friendship, but by his support. Here he is, a Democrat. I expect he might have voted for me once or twice, I don't know. But when I wanted to be on the Ways and Means Committee as a freshman member of Congress from Texas, I turned to him. He was close to Wilbur Mills, another respected friend of mine, and I ended up as the sole freshman in years to make the Ways and Means Committee.
And I want to make a present to each of you of a volume of this.
Always concerned about the quality of education in this country, he served as a member of the Arkansas Board of Higher Education for 17 years and was instrumental in beginning the drive to improve public education in Arkansas. It is simple economics. With good education, people are more productive. To educate people is good business.
Charles is really an educator at heart more than he is a businessman. He is the best-read layman I have ever met in the field of political economy.
If I could give him a title, it would be that of economist or philosopher. Charles has a long-term way of thinking, more so than anyone else I've ever known. He can think in decades.
I hope that it is a long legacy. I hope that Murphy Oil stays there, stays in Arkansas. It represents a kind of symbol of American initiative. It represents a symbol of the way enterprise can flourish in the United States if there is proper leadership. And that is what Charlie provided for Murphy Oil.